The reason most of us cannot serve God is because we are still wanderers. We are trying to look for value in things. We are pursuing things. We walk from morning till night and night till morning. Not because we are pursuing anything eternal. We are looking for natural things to validate us. And the devil knows. Because the moment the man begins to look for value externally, he becomes a slave of the devil. Because the devil cannot control what is inside him, but the devil can control what is outside him. And so the devil will make you pursue external things, make you define value based on external things, and you find yourself in an endless cycle, looking for value and relevance from the externals. And you see, the more you look for it, the more you'll never be satisfied. The more you search, the more you'll never be satisfied. You were designed to contain God and to express God. And if you have any activity on earth, is to extend his government to the earth realm. And so anything God has in mind, it is your duty to pick it from the mind of God and to communicate it to the earth. So when the government of God is advancing on the face of the earth, a man is supposed to be behind it. And so men, therefore, should be identified by two things. Number one, by the dimension of God they carry, and by the assignment of God they are representing on the earth. If you find a man that you cannot find the dimension of God traced to him, and if you find a man that is not powering any divine mandate, that man is still operating by the economy of the four. He's still in the realm of tohu bohu. No matter what you have, what gives you value is the dimension of God you carry. If we took a census here for a minute and we find out, who are you? Most of you will define yourself based on your job. I'm a banker. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lecturer. That's not who you are. Paul says, henceforth, know we no man after the flesh. You must be traced to a dimension that has its root in God. And then if they ask you, what do you do? It is still an error to say I'm a lawyer. Because law is a platform. Marketing is a platform. Parliament is a platform. What you do is a kingdom assignment. If you ask me, who are you? I spread the fire of God from nations to nation. I carry the presence of God from nations to nation. So if you find me in law service today, it's because they need the presence of God there. That's why I came. I came as a custodian. If you find me in football today, I'm not playing football because I need food. I am there because they need the fire in the football field. And so when I'm playing it, you will see the glory of God there. And after a while, many footballers will be influenced. Jesus will become their Lord. Because the reason I went there is not to look for a paycheck, is to bring Christ there. I carry presence. I carry fire. Somebody else will carry light. And when he enters a place, he demystifies everything that the devil has done, and he brings a new order. And people will have no choice but to bow to God and to serve Jesus as King. Until we come to that point, our existence is vain. There's no meaning in what we are doing. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. This is like the highest court in the heavens. There's a deliberation going on here between the Godhead. And this deliberation is one that no angel is permitted to participate in. In my own belief, based on my research in scriptures, this is where God stood when he decided to design the project of creation. You know, before God began to create, he existed in himself. Himself was his reference. Aeons that cannot be captured. All we know about God is within the boundary of the syllables of creator. But you see, before God began to create, he was God. And only God knows what God was doing. And nobody can know it because we all fall within the confines of creation. But you see, this scripture revealed to us that there was a place God stayed, God dwelt, before he contemplated the project of creation. You know, very few people traveled far to the beginning in scripture. Very few people. And when you start studying the subject of the beginning, one thing you discover is that there are many beginnings. Beginning will only be one if you are dealing with time. If you are within the framework of time, if you say in the beginning, all of us will come to the same spot. But when you are dealing in a realm that is beyond time, beginning will have many locations. And so when you start studying the scripture, you find many beginnings referencing many realities. There is a beginning Moses found, and he said, in the beginning, God created. In that beginning, God began the project of creating nothing, something from nothing. So that was a reference. There was another beginning John entered in John chapter 1 from verse 1. And he said, in the beginning was the Word. That beginning, God was not doing anything. God just existed as God. So the beginning of John references a person. The beginning of Moses references an activity. All of them called beginning, but different realities. The beginning of John is a person. If you journeyed with John to the beginning, you will meet God. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. So what John met in the beginning was not an activity. It was a being. But what Moses met in the beginning was an activity of creation. And so it goes to let you know that there are realms beyond creation. There are places beyond time. And such places, only God dwells there. No creation can travel there. We are only permitted to see from when reality began to play out. But there was a realm that existed before reality began. In fact, there was another beginning that Jesus referenced that Moses went to again. He said, in the beginning, it was not so. He made them male and female. That's another beginning. In that beginning, God began to deal with matters of socialization. So there are different kinds of beginning in God. But there is a realm beyond the beginning. The realm beyond the beginning cannot be referenced. That's where God goes into to plan things. And only God knows that. The reason, no matter how creative we are, we cannot be creators. At best, we can be inventors. Inventors produce things from what was. Only creator can produce from nothing. Inventors, we need raw materials to create, but a creator doesn't need a raw material. That's the difference between a bara and an asa. A bara produces from nothing. So he can call forth air. Air does not come out of any, it calls it to existence. From nothing to something. Only God has that authority. Now, when God was dealing in Genesis 1:26, he journeyed back to one of such places where nobody can enter. That's where the code of creation is kept. And what God was deliberating there is to create another being that will represent him in one of his constituencies. Because when you study the scripture, you will discover that the earth realm was manned by another creation. There was a prince that was the ruler over the earth realm until that prince failed. And so when God needed somebody else, he didn't reassign the responsibility of the prince that was watching over the earth, because that earth was destroyed. And the reason it happened so is because when God creates a realm and he puts you there to man it, the life of that realm is tied to you. And so the Bible said, they know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. It said the whole foundation of the earth is out of course. So when a prince that is the governor over a realm falls, that realm will also fall. And so the first earth had to collapse. The first earth fell into chaos. And so when you study Genesis chapter 1 from verse 1, after God created the heaven and the earth, in verse 2, we saw that the earth spiraled into chaos. The word is tohu bohu. It means worthlessness, chaos, lack of coordination and control. Everything has spiraled into vanity. Because the first prince fell, the first earth fell. And so now that God has recreated the second earth, he needed another prince to man that earth. But you see, you cannot just pick another prince to man it, because the new prince, his reality needs to be tied to this earth so that he can regulate it from the foundations. And so God had to go back to the realm that was before the beginning. And it was that realm he entered where no angel can enter. And he began to negotiate with himself. And what God came out with was another novel invention that had never existed. Because the first earth was manned by a spirit. Although he had authority over the earth, but he was a spirit, an immaterial being, trying to regulate a material realm. And so there will definitely be a challenge. And so this time around, God decided to create a being that had never existed before and did not look like any other being. And he said, let us make man. And this time around, man will not be just like a spirit. Now, listen to this. If God created man in the image of the Father, he would have been powerful enough. If he created man in the image of the Son, he would have been powerful enough. If he created man in the image of the Spirit, he would have been powerful enough. But what God did was that he merged the reality of the Godhead. And he said, let us make man. Not like the Father, not like the Son, not like the Spirit. Let's make man like Father, Son, and Spirit, all in one. So he created a being for the first time that could mirror the fullness of God. A being that could communicate the fullness of God. And the moment he created that being, he had to mobilize that being to man the next realm that he had created. And this time, hear this, all of the realms of God are spirit realms. For the first time, he crystallized a realm that is material, completely separated from the spirit realm. So a spirit can no longer function here until one with body gives it permission. In the first earth, a spirit could operate on earth as its governor. But in this new earth, only one with a body could give a spirit permission. So God created one that will operate with so much authority, almost replacing him. And so if that man decides to submit to God, it is called worship. Because it's possible for that man to function in rebellion. But he gave him so much authority to represent him in fullness that it will take worship for that man to submit everything he has under his control to God, seeing God as his source. Otherwise, the man was operating in the God class. He said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness. So the same way we regulate the heavens, let this man have power to regulate the earth. And so the moment the fallen prince saw it, he knew there was a problem. Another creature of the God order has come into being. We have to truncate this project. This man cannot be allowed to come into fullness. If he comes into fullness, he will be like God. And that's why, since Adam fell, when his project was truncated, the next person God saw as a man in his image was Christ. Because if man enters his image, he will operate like God. Adam could not complete that cycle. The next person that was able to complete that cycle was Jesus. So at John's baptismal service, he said, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. This is the first time I have seen the full project of man. Because a man is supposed to mirror God. A man is actually one that hosts divinity and expresses divinity through the flesh. A man is one that has the capacity to contain God and to express God. So that when you find a man becomes an address of God. So when you are looking for God, you don't need to look into the skies. When you touch a man is a conduit into the God kind. Because of that, our existence here is not in the pursuit of things. It is the fall that made us to become pursuers of things. Because in the God class, you don't pursue things. You command them and they be. The moment man began to pursue things to find validation, it means he's falling. The moment the man begins to define his glory from his possessions, it means he's falling. Because the way he's designed, his essence is not in things. The glory is in earthen vessel. He is a custodian of a God reality. So the value of the man is in himself, not outside of him. But the fall made man no longer to draw value from within himself. He began to look for value outside himself. So the man became a wanderer. Why am I saying this? The reason most of us cannot serve God is because we are still wanderers. We are trying to look for value in things. We are pursuing things. We walk from morning till night and night till morning. Not because we are pursuing anything eternal. We are looking for natural things to validate us. And the devil knows. Because the moment the man begins to look for value externally, he becomes a slave of the devil. Because the devil cannot control what is inside him, but the devil can control what is outside him. And so the devil will make you pursue external things, make you define value based on external things, and you find yourself in an endless cycle, looking for value and relevance from the externals. And you see, the more you look for it, the more you'll never be satisfied. The more you search, the more you'll never be satisfied. You were designed to contain God and to express God. And if you have any activity on earth, is to extend his government to the earth realm. And so anything God has in mind, it is your duty to pick it from the mind of God and to communicate it to the earth. So when the government of God is advancing on the face of the earth, a man is supposed to be behind it. And so men, therefore, should be identified by two things. Number one, by the dimension of God they carry, and by the assignment of God they are representing on the earth. If you find a man that you cannot find the dimension of God traced to him, and if you find a man that is not powering any divine mandate, that man is still operating by the economy of the four. He's still in the realm of tohu bohu. No matter what you have, what gives you value is the dimension of God you carry. If we took a census here for a minute and we find out, who are you? Most of you will define yourself based on your job. I'm a banker. I'm a lawyer. I'm a lecturer. That's not who you are. Paul says, henceforth, know we no man after the flesh. You must be traced to a dimension that has its root in God. And then if they ask you, what do you do? It is still an error to say I'm a lawyer. Because law is a platform. Marketing is a platform. Parliament is a platform. What you do is a kingdom assignment. If you ask me, who are you? I spread the fire of God from nations to nation. I carry the presence of God from nations to nation. So if you find me in law service today, it's because they need the presence of God there. That's why I came. I came as a custodian. If you find me in football today, I'm not playing football because I need food. I am there because they need the fire in the football field. And so when I'm playing it, you will see the glory of God there. And after a while, many footballers will be influenced. Jesus will become their Lord. Because the reason I went there is not to look for a paycheck, is to bring Christ there. I carry presence. I carry fire. Somebody else will carry light. And when he enters a place, he demystifies everything that the devil has done, and he brings a new order. And people will have no choice but to bow to God and to serve Jesus as King. Until we come to that point, our existence is vain. There's no meaning in what we are doing. We will be like the animals that have no purpose. The job of the animal is to satisfy his appetites. If his appetites are satisfied, he's having a good day. And when his appetite is satisfied, he goes to sleep, wakes up the next day, and starts seeking how to satisfy his appetite. And he dies, and he ends that way. But you see, we don't die. When our assignment is over, we translate to another dimension of glory. Because what we are doing will not end in time. It will continue into eternity. You know, John was carried to heaven. And while he was in heaven, he saw a being in Revelation 19, around 10 and 11. He wanted to worship him. He thought he was an angel. And he told him, worship me not. I'm one of your brethren. I finished my assignment before you. I've crossed over. Because what you are doing on earth, you will do it in Zion. It doesn't stop here. Hope you know that Elijah was not just a prophet on earth. Because when Elijah finished his assignment, he became an elder in the spirit. Because when Jesus needed to go to the Mount of Transfiguration, Elijah came back. Moses came back. And the Bible said they were telling him what he will do in Jerusalem. Because the same way they carried the oracles of God as men, now they have become spirits of just men made perfect. They are still custodians of the oracles of God. And so when Jesus came in the flesh, at some point, he needed elders to give him counsel. And so they told him, although you are creator, but now that you have come to the world of men, there are certain oracles that we are custodians of. So when you get to Jerusalem, Lord and Master, this is what you should do. There's no banking job you will do when you leave your body. Banking ends here because banking is a platform. There's no oil job you can do beyond here. It's a platform. It's not a walk. There's no lecturing job you can do that you will carry to eternity. It ends here. The only one that if you came back in another lifetime, you will still carry is an assignment that is eternal. And so anytime Elijah returns, he returns as a prophet. Anytime Elijah returns, he returns as a custodian. Anytime Elijah returns, he returns as a witness, because they don't die. They carry it for all eternity. This is who we are. We are witnesses and we are ambassadors of Zion. We represent dimensions of God on the earth realm. When you leave this conference, you will discover who you are. You will discover who you are. You will know that you carry an errand from Zion. He said, before you were formed in your mother's womb, I knew you. I ordained you. I ordained you. There was a seal put on your life that you shall be a prophet to the nations. You came as an errand of God from eternity to time. If you know this, your life will take a new turn. Do you know why I can never bother what I need to eat? I'm a messenger. I'm an ambassador. I was sent. And the one that sent me is too faithful to allow me hunger and thirst. I was sent. You know why I can never bother about how I will live, or whether I'm under attack or I'm not under attack? I was sent. I told you yesterday, the last thing the British ambassador wants to do in Nigeria is to worry. Because the government that sent him is responsible for him. From what he wears to what he eats to how he travels, the government is responsible. The last thing he wants to do is to ask for food. When you find him in Nigeria, he's defending the interest of the Great Britain. He's arguing to advance the influence of the government of Britain in Nigeria. Anywhere you see him, he's carrying the weight of the kingdom, the weight of the nation. And so long as he's there, Britain will have a stake in that country. That is his burden. How much of the influence of this empire will remain in this country because of my presence? That's how an ambassador thinks. I am on earth. How much of the influence of God will be felt in my space because I am here? If that becomes your pursuit in life, everything men seek will be an addition to you. Everything men desire will be an addition for you. We didn't come. He said, I have not called the seed of Jacob to seek me in vain. God is too faithful for your food to become an issue. And so the difference between a Christian and a witness, the difference between a Christian and an ambassador, the difference between a Christian and a messenger is that a Christian is a consumer, but a messenger is a burden bearer of God. When you find an ordinary Christian praying, he's asking for health, he's asking for bread, he's asking for breakthrough. But when you find an ambassador on his knees, he's asking the Father, what will you have me do? What is the next assignment? What is the strategy for fulfilling it? How do I advance the influence of heaven on earth? And as he's doing it, what the other one is praying for is an addition to him. He will not pray it, yet he will do better than the one praying it. Because the jealousy of heaven is invested on him. If the number of witnesses begins to grow, earth will become a constituency of heaven again. The reason we are here is to make the kingdoms of this world the kingdom of our God and of his Christ.
Hello, thanks for watching.